Hello comrades and peers. Today's video is about a complete different topic. How to deal with the sheer number of options and offers in our hobby. Do choices simply enrich our hobby? Or is there a downside? This may be almost a philosophical question. I've been carrying this issue around with me for a while now. Most of the time, I get the impression that I'm the only one who has a problem with the sheer number of opportunities we've been given in the recent years. That's why this topic has slipped further and further down the list, month after month. I then came across a video by Sasha, Tabletop Basement, who started playing 40k and posted a painting motivation post. He doesn't seem to have the problem that I would have while building an army. That's why I wonder if I'm the only one. When I started many years ago, things were easy, but that doesn't mean it was problem-free or carefree. Both of my newly discovered hobbies, role-playing and miniature wargaming, were niche areas in Germany. Translations were rare, expensive, and hard to come by. The English originals were cheaper, but even harder to find and understand. The internet was still a thing of the future, and conventional school English was insufficient for understanding armaments, weapon systems, or more complex rules. When it came to miniatures, you had to take what you could get. So I started with role-playing game figures, then moved on to Citadel miniatures. The first Warhammer figures I bought were Skaven. They were cool and available. With the release of the Realms of Chaos books, availability unfortunately decreased, and I continued with Chaos, alongside the Empire, which were always somehow available. You had to work with what you could get your hands on. While life prescribed a break from hobbies, the internet began to open up. GW stores opened in Germany, and more normal stores also began to expand the supply range to include such items. I still remember walking into my first Games Workshop store. A huge selection of miniatures, and a very young man trying to explain to me what young people do with them. Looking back, I was still a kind of young myself at the time. When I got back into the hobby, the question quickly arose, which army should I choose? I had a little bit of many different units and had filled in the missing pieces with counters. Counters are a lifesaver for people who can't get their hands on miniatures. Now you could buy anything. Now you could finally buy more Skaven. Or stick with Chaos. What about Beastmen, the backbones of my Chaos army? Or maybe something for the Dwarf contingent? The possibilities were a bit confusing and unusual. I worked my way through the product range. First I went with the Empire again, since it's plain and had already a solid basic selection, followed by Chaos and Undead. Undead. Something new appeared here, the old zombie box. Endless design possibilities in a single box. No more miniatures that looked exactly as they were molded. Now you could decide yourself how they should look like. At first, it's a great idea. But as soon as you start crafting, the possibilities dwindle with each removed and used bit, and you end up with less options as you imagined. With each figure you finish, you lose several others you had also considered crafting, which is now impossible unless you buy another box. The constantly shrinking realm of possibilities. That dampened my enthusiasm somewhat. One has an open space of possibilities in front of oneself, and with each implementation of one of these possibilities, the space shrinks by several times the amount removed. I personally find combination kits even worse, where you can build several different optional things, but in the end you can only finish one of them. My first kit of this type was the Imperial Artillery box. You could build a great cannon or a mortar from this kit. At least the problem could be circumvented, and both pieces of artillery could be obtained with some additional material. But most of the times that's not possible. You can build the Fire Phoenix or the Ice Phoenix, but not both. If the other object doesn't completely disinterest me, then I have a decision problem. With a bit of bad luck, I might even change my mind a few times beforehand, which isn't helpful for building the model in terms of time. Why not buy a second box? I haven't even finished the first one yet, and the second one just raises the same question anyway. Which model should it be? In most cases, you need several of each anyway, right? Those were just GW examples. But it's no different in the historical realm. Tank models are often supplied in several versions, or different calibers for artillery. Are you planning on painting grenadiers or voltigeurs in Napoleonics? It's not a huge problem, but I've noticed that the more options a kit offers, the longer it takes me to assemble a model. Not because of the actual assembling, but because of the preliminary planning involved in deciding what I'm going to do with it. It's a kind of planning process that precedes the actual construction and takes its time. We've now moved on 3D printing and STL design. The possibilities have expanded even further. However, I feel like I'm slowly running out of this crucial resource, time. We are not getting any younger after all. When I see STL libraries online, I'm reminded of the first moment entering the German GW shop. So many possibilities. When you only have a limited number of miniatures available over a period of time, you can paint them more carefully and thoughtfully. If you want to paint 20 or more termagants or symbionts, that's probably less of an issue. It then becomes a tedious task rather than a craft. You lose something here. What I'm wondering is whether I'm the only one who sees a problem, in quotation marks, here. Or are these only the ramblings of an old man which time has overtaken? Are we still doing what we truly want, or have we gotten lost in the maze of possibilities and are now just working through hobby packages to release them into the reality? I would be happy to read some wise, perhaps even reassuring words in the comments. You should at least take advantage of the opportunity to prove me wrong. Otherwise, have fun with your painting and crafting. Till then, and take care.